learning, in execution, in how you see yourself and your identity. What is it that works for you? And as a dyslexic, some people are great with textbooks for learning. Awesome, let's go that route. A lot of people aren't. So they go to watching videos, or they go to listening it on audio, or they jump to hands-on experience. My whole coaching goes to let's figure out which one you are best in, which one that is easiest for you to learn. Because if you're doing something that's a strength for you, then the results are going to multiply. Rather than if we do the thing that everyone else does, which we might add a little here, a little there. I'm like, no, we got limited time on this earth. We're going to multiply as much as we can, and we do what works for them. And so that's the approach I do. And I like to have fun. A lot of time, I just love to have fun cracking jokes with it. I'm very comfortable with the different ways that it needs to happen, but it all just comes down to believe in yourself. What is it that you want to do? Once you know what you want and you have that direction, what are some things that you got that are in that plan? What are some milestones you got to hit? Once you do that, well, then you take that metaphorical car out of park to start driving. You start doing daily, consistent things. And then just like in a car, you don't just drive straight from your home if you're going to Walmart. You got to take the steering wheel and you got to make some turns. So you'll learn to adjust and adapt along the way. And so all those things are just come into, that's the principle base of how it follows. But the way in which we do it is just specific to each person that comes.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. Well,
I think so.
Yeah. Well, Willie, let us know, let my listeners know, my viewers, what you got going on. How can we support you in your crusade to, talk to people, coach people, and grow?
Yes. Best place for you listeners to be able to, one, connect with me. Go to my website, coachwillieblake.com. And you'll be able to connect with me there. But even more importantly, be comfortable with who you are and start sharing it. If it has to be a close friend, or it has to be a parent, or if it has to be a stranger who's driving the Uber, who you're just I'm never going to see this person again, so I can share something that I don't do, then let it be that. So just it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to be yourself, and let yourself be yourself. And one thing that I have that you listeners, that I would encourage everybody who's listening to do, is on my website, just right at the top, there's a link to an ebook, very short. I don't like those long ebooks. I'm dyslexic. Very short ebook called Break Free, and it's the 12 chains that limit us, that hold us down like shackles, and the ways in which to break them. And I'm going to ask for your email because that's just the best way to send things to people.
Today's guest is Willie Blake, a high-performing coach who works close and comes in really, really hard from a hard-earned place. He spent years trying to hide his dyslexia, same with myself, and now he helps adults to stop hiding what makes them different and start running and turning clarity, confidence into real momentum. Willie, thank you so much for being here.
Michael, thank you for having me.
Appreciate you. When people meet you right out the gate, beyond the title of coach, what do you most hope you feel that they understand about you?
Man, coming out just with the good old questions right off the bat. I love it. That thing that I hope people just take away after that first conversation is that no matter what I went through, I believe in myself. And no matter what anyone else goes through, I hope that they share that same belief that they can believe in themselves too.
What did that moment, I guess, look like for you when you decided that, hey, I've been through all these situations and I want to turn that pain into something that can be a conduit of change for someone else? When did that happen?
Yeah, There wasn't like a specific moment where it happened, but several like come up to my mind because since the about 7 or 8 years old, I got diagnosed with dyslexia, which for those who
Okay.
are listening, basic of basics, you have difficulty with reading, difficulty with the words, how to process the information, sometimes how to communicate it out. That's what it is. It's just our brain is wired differently to where our process system is a little bit different than someone else's. So you can just imagine in elementary school where the traditional school system is built to be able to do a lot of reading, a lot of writing, and a lot of
Hmm.
memorizing, which just happened to go against who dyslexics are.
Yeah.
But and not really focused as much with the strengths that dyslexia has that I know now, and I wish I would have knew back then, but like creativity, problem solving, thinking outside the box, seeing things in patterns, as well as sympathy and empathy. Because we've had to go through so much, we know what it's like for other people to go through the challenge. And so growing up with that mindset, those thoughts in my head of I always have to catch up to other people because my reading level's behind. My friends would go and hang out with their buddies, but would leave me just on the sidewalk, on the grass, and I'd have to be like, am I the broken kid? Am I the one? Like, I was just talking to them. I just wanted to hang out. But because they see me go to a different class every Friday for the last hour, and because they see me having to take extra time on tests and the last kid doing it, they either thought I was dumb, a bad boy because I had to go to a different classroom, or somebody who was just slow and different, so they didn't want to hang out with me. So I thought I was a broken kid. I'm like, dang. Man, anybody who has kids, like if you could just imagine an 8-year-old kid who is starting to say in his mind, I feel broken, it's rough. And not only that, but like other challenges of in the first grade where I accidentally pulled down a girl's pants while playing tag and she ran in to get the teachers. Teachers came out and I'm sitting there and I'm just like, it was an accident. I tripped over like a couple wood chips. But the teacher said,
Yeah.
did you do that? Like, did you pull her down her pants? And I'm like, yeah, I did. Because I did, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that was it. There weren't any other questions asked. And so they said, okay, you're coming in for recess the rest of the week. And then I'm like, can't I share my side of the story? They're like, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, maybe I'll just be quiet. And so I started being a lot more quiet. And then fourth grade, when we do like there's these like rehearsal type things where you sing this program of songs to your parents, where you're doing practice, all these fourth graders standing there. And I remember that it was a minute before the bell rang, and the teacher said, who wants to sing the song one last time? And I'm like, no, I got to go to the school bus. But all the kids around me said yes. And I'm like, no. And the teacher had me sit next to her, and just like kind of the old school, those dunce caps that went on your head, man, I felt so stupid, felt so dumb, and continue that process of I'm not going to share my voice ever again. To even more challenges of fast forward into college, within the same week, my childhood best friend and one of my cousins both took their life within the same week.
My
And it's
goodness.
like,
My condolences.
and it's like all these challenges just back to back to back to back. But each of them, as I look back on them, made a moment for me and a change for me. And I got to choose who I wanted to be. As a kid, I didn't have these thoughts in my head of, oh, you can just keep pushing, keep persevering. It's like, no, that I interpret that as a kid. But now I can go back. I can go back to that kid and change that story. I can show up, or my superhero of a person, whether it's my grandma or literally Superman or Batman, whoever you look up to, comes into that memory and says the things that you wish somebody else would have said. And so then you start to heal. And in that moment to where that one week where my friend and my cousin both took their lives, I remember that on that moment, I got a little postcard, little Post-it note, and wrote on it and said something like, if I can help it, I'm never going to let any one of my cousins feel like this again. And that was another transforming moment of now systems are needed. Frameworks are needed. You got to have a sales script. Like there's so many different things you got to have in place to make a business work. But true down to what it is, it's about the relationship that you have with someone else. It's about trust. It's about that feeling. And so these different moments each taught me a different lesson that got me to the person I am today. Of now I want to lead with heart When people feel in the darkness, I want to help them see the light, not be the light for them, but be that friend standing next to them. And so there's just those different moments. There wasn't one, like I said, there wasn't one, but so many different moments I took from my life that just over time of me saying, instead of the villain mindset of I got hurt, so I'm going to hurt other people, I chose to take the hero mindset of I got hurt, so I'm going to do what I can to not make other people hurt the way that I did.
That's a lot, you know.
Yeah.
And,
I know. I dropped so much there.
it's so much great gems too, because just listening to you talk, it reminded me of situations that I experienced in my life, from going to that extra class to not really understanding words that well, right? Because I experienced that when I was diagnosed as well. And as a young kid, I thought I was ignorant and dumb, and it kept me from relating to people and getting close with people for the longest time. And man, so it was like a mirror being placed up when you were speaking about that. That it was just like it was quite revealing, you know. And so that was like your start into being a coach, because you experienced some things that you didn't have a champion for, and now you're being a champion for others, you know, and that's pretty amazing. Your community talks about and promises that you will support without pity. Why is that distinction so important to you and your community?
Everybody goes through challenges, and so many people play the victim. And I just can't get behind it. I can't, because I was there. I was there. I was the one that was saying, I can't read. I don't want to stand up in class. When people are just like volunteer, here's what I do. Teacher would stand up in class, be like, okay, we're going to read out loud. We'll start in this side of the room and go here. Literally what I would do is I would count the people that it would be to me. Then I'd look at those paragraphs, count down to know which one I was reading. And then you get this. From that smile, I can tell you did this too. And I would literally in my head be reading that sentence or paragraph, making sure that I pronounced the big words right, that I knew how to say it. So finally, when I stood up, I didn't mess up.
Yeah.
Like, we go through that. We go through it. We feel so judged by other people, but it's so internal too, because it's the ignorance of other people that they just don't know what dyslexia is, or ADHD, or autism, OCD, whatever neurodivergent thing is. People just don't know it, and they don't know how to talk about it. I don't know about you. I don't have these conversations. Well, before I was a coach, I didn't have these conversations with my friends where we'd be sitting on a couch playing video games and just be like, yo, you dyslexic? No, that doesn't come up. It's a taboo topic. And so when it comes to, there's two sides of it, because there's the first thing of when people usually get into my community and start getting into the space in which I hold myself and the beliefs that I have, and that you got to believe in yourself and realize that everything that you went through, it's okay. Like, how you feel, it's validating. How you've experienced life, it's validating. And the second part, which is, now what are you going to do about it? Because I see diagnosis that it has its role. Being diagnosed has its role. But I don't sit there. My thing is like, okay, after you're diagnosed, or if you choose not to be diagnosed, what are we going to do after that? Let's build the system. Let's build like off of your strengths for your career, for your life, for your relationships. Let's build off of you rather than this set way that everybody promotes out there. I'm like, we start with you. And a lot of times that's giving them that emotional breath, that chance to just share what's been on their shoulders, share with it. No judgment, no need to grieve with them or anything, but sit there as a friend and listen. And then after all that is said and done, after they're able to take that and finally just have a moment to be themselves, then we just ask, what do you want to do now? And we go from there.
That sounds like a lot of real support. And be able to weather through the storm with someone is such a big thing. I was always taught, early on I was taught, when we talk about being there for someone, usually it's about giving advice. And then later, what I was taught is like, you don't really want to speak when someone is pouring out their heart. You really just want to be quiet and weather the storm with them. usually 9 times out of 10, they know what they have to do. It's just they have to get to the point where they get through the storm and get to the precipice where they have to make that decision.
Yeah.
You know?
And with that, like if I can jump in quick,
Oh, yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I always ask a question when I talk to people, because some people that 9 times out of 10, man, they just want to vent. They just want to get it out. They know what they got to do. They know it. Everybody knows it. There's that thing in the back of the head of, man, I do need to pick up that phone and call the insurance company, or I need to open my laptop and finish my taxes, or I just need to go out and do a couple push-ups on the stairs. We know what we need to do. So
Yeah.
that's when we just listen and be there. But sometimes they do want advice. So
Mhm.
my question that I ask, either at the beginning or after they're done sharing, is, if it's at the beginning, before you get into this, I want to ask, do you just want me to listen, or are
Mhm.
you wanting me to give advice afterwards?
Mhm.
Or if it's at the end, say, thank you for sharing that with me. I'm glad that we have this safety of a space to do it. Are you just wanting me to just be a soundboard, or you wanting me to say something with that? It's not.
Mhm.
That's not a demanding question. That's not a devastating one. One that they're just like get offended by. They're just like, oh, he cares too much. What the heck? It's like, no, it's actually very welcoming, because
Yeah.
then they say, yeah, I actually would like some advice. Or they're like, yeah, I really just want you to listen. And then it frees up your mental space of being like, cool, I don't have to give advice. They just want me here as a friend. And that's how you build a really strong connection with.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You told this story and you kind of started telling the story about, you in school and how people was treating you. What did that kid you know about himself before the world started making him hesitate?
Interesting question. So like me as a kid, I was so curious and so adventurous. Like I would be out there looking, I'd be asking questions, and I would just like nonstop just always be talking, and the world was just this beautiful thing to encounter. And like that's who the kid was. But then after the diagnosis, I'm just like, I have no clue what this thing is. It's hard enough for me to say. So whatever. So I kept being that kid. But then slowly over the years, people started treating me different. People started to say things. I started to then interpret it a certain way, which I'm like, okay, maybe I don't share my raw thoughts that I have in my head. Maybe I got to put this filter up to make sure that it's a good thing to say. And then the filter got stronger, and it's just like, well, now it has to be the perfect thing to say. And so that kid before was just like, go at it, go now. Kind of more like the person I am today. Because even a couple of years ago, I wasn't like the person I am today. But over time, as I grew up to elementary, into middle school, and even into high school, it was that kid of, got to put up filters, perfect thing to say. Have to put up walls so that I don't get hurt, and have to really not be myself and put up that mask for everybody else so that people will like me.
You're right. Wow. 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 You're right, man. Oh my goodness. Your message and your methodology, how you attack this is so practical and needed, and it lands, I think, because it feels lived, like a lived experience. What have you refused to fake in the chapters of your life and your work that you was like, this is non-negotiable. I have to be truly authentic. I can't put up this filter.
Like all of the different chapters where it's just like, this is the non-negotiable. Is that what you're asking?
Hmm.
I wish I could say that I was like, man, I was smashing it really good. I was this perfect kid who stood by what he believed in. But no, there are so many beliefs that I believed it, but the words that came out of my mouth and the actions I took didn't line up. But the one thing that was just non-negotiable for me was that I'd always have a relationship with my God. That no matter what happened in my career, my business, no matter what happened to when it comes to politics and other people talking about religion, or when it comes to my neurodivergence and dyslexia, I'm always going to talk with my God. And he's my father. He's my heavenly father. And so like when I talk with him, I don't personally go along with the whole thing of like the these and thous all the time. It's not like Thanksgiving dinner where the grandpa prays over the food and uses like all the proper nouns. I can't do that. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm just like, God, thank you for my girls. My girls are just amazing. And my wife who just takes care of them. Just thank you for that. Here's some things that are going on that went on today. I know that you can see it. I know that you're watching everything, but I still want to report back to you. I want to tell you how I'm doing as a father and a husband. And if you got some advice, I would love to hear it. And these are things that I'm working on. And if it's against your plan, please whack me across the face with a spirit or like save me to help me out so I don't go down the wrong path. But if it's not, give me that strength. Give me that strength through your son and his light, and I'll continue to be the tool in the world. And so that various degrees is what it happened as throughout the chapters, but all came down to like, that was the thing I didn't want to negotiate, was I'm always going to have God with me. And no matter how hard, how bad I feel, I'm always going to have somebody right there, right by my side saying, you can do this. It's just a season. Keep going.
You know, you kind of talked about it when you was first grade and how dyslexia got a name for you, right? What changed inside you once, I guess, that label was out there on your experience? Did that label bring relief? Did it bring fear? Or did it bring both?
As a kid or more recently now?
I would say in both aspects.
As a kid, it felt like it was going down to like kind of bottom of the barrel, just trying to survive, like going through school. I remember high school, I had to go into school before school even started to meet with all my teachers that I was going to have for that year and sit there. And it's either a 504 or 529. I think 529 is financial. So it was like a 504 plan to where they would give me extra time on tests. They'd give me their presentation, the PowerPoint notes, let me take extra time on homework and assignments. But we'd be sitting in like a boardroom type setting. Me as a kid with my mom right there, all of them there. And inside I'm feeling, man, these teachers know me before school even starts. And in their mind, or at least what I thought in their mind, it's just like, this is a trouble kid anyways. Like I gotta do extra work for this dude? Heck no. But I'm getting paid, so I gotta do it. Like these were the thoughts that were going through my head. And so it felt like I was already a burden before school even started. And then to go through classes to where all my friends, we'd be walking down the hall from lunch, and then they'd turn into the honors English class. And I'd have to walk a few more doors down to the regular English class, to where nobody really wanted to work. Nobody wanted to be there. And I felt I was smart. I knew I could do it, but it was hard to be able to take it from my mind to my brain to paper and to say it in words. And because of that, I couldn't do this whole honors class. And so it felt like I was always catching up, always having to do double the work just to be with the average, just to catch up. So like, that's how it was as a kid. And then now as it's even more out there, and how I start sharing it, it's a breath of fresh air for a lot of people to be able to have somebody who like talks about it so openly. And they're just like, so a year and a half ago, I went to a networking event. And going out, I was talking to people, and this one guy who wasn't my client at the time, he is now, but I was talking to him, and I was like, he asked like, hey, Willie, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm a dyslexic coach. And he looked at me and said, that's so interesting. I'm also dyslexic. And I'm like, dude, you got to say it out loud. You got to say it proud. Like, you're dyslexic. You're part of this group. That's like, that's only, there's so many statistics out there. Some are 5, some are up to 20. But we'll just say like average 10% of the population of the world has some form of dyslexia. Like, it's a part of you. It ain't curable. I have it my entire life. And so, and we just got to say it. We got to say it and not be bashful about it. Just being like, yeah, it's hard for me to read sometimes. It's hard for me to write. But man, I'm so good with coming up with ideas, and I can show that I care about people. And this guy, he's just like, that is so cool. And I remember literally we met there. A year later, he texted me and said, hey, Willie, this is so-and-so from this event. I want to show you what I saved your number as in my phone. And I'd love to jump on a call with you because I think what you're doing is so cool. And literally on his phone, it said, Willie Blake, dyslexic something. That was it.
I like that.
Dyslexic something. That's all he remembered. He's like, this guy talked about dyslexia, but it gave him a chance to realize that it's not something that he said was this 1,000-pound elephant or gorilla in the room. but gave him a chance to share it. And now he's out there and he brings it up and talks about it. And it's so cool to see that. So now in adulthood, to where I share I'm dyslexic. And that's awesome, because there's so many great things that come with like those few list of negative things that society tends to focus on. And people feel heard. They feel understand. And man, instant connection. So those would be the two between kid and adult.
That's pretty awesome. I like that. I like that. And I like the whole dyslexic something. I like that. That's
Yeah, it's like
hilarious.
dyslexic something. He's doing something, but it's definitely dyslexic.
Oh, my goodness. You kind of talked about it already about how your friends, you was hanging out with them and they kind of like drifted away from you, especially when you was getting different support in school. What do you tell as a coach? What do you tell? Because I take it you coach kids as well, right? Schools, you go into schools and support and help out the schools. So, what do you tell the youth that like, hey, I'm an adult. I've been through where you currently are. I've been through that. How do you express to them it gets better? Because a lot of times, kids, when I was a kid, it's the end of the world. Oh my God. I don't have friends. Kill me now.
Yeah.
That's, just so dramatic, right? And then how do you express to them like, this is, you're only at the beginning. You're not at the end, and it gets better if you're willing to work at it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I primarily work with adults, but I do go to schools and even up to like college campuses. I do go there and speak to youth and speak to teenagers and such. I actually volunteer every year for a week as a cabin counselor at a diabetic camp. My wife has type 1 diabetics. And so that's kind of like our way to give back to the community. And I love being up there because it's teenage kids who are going through their own challenge. It's not dyslexia, but it's type 1 diabetes. And I share the same thing with them that I do with elementary school kids, which is I let them see the possibility in a world that we live in today, in which every time we scroll on social media or hear the news, something is going wrong. Something is always going wrong. And if something's not going wrong, then someone somewhere will make up something that is going wrong.
Wrong, yeah.
So what I tell these kids who always are just in this environment of something's wrong, something's the problem, and someone else is going to fix it, I open their mind to the possibility. I tell them first, what is it that you want? I want them to ask themselves what they actually want. I want that kid energy and that kid smile of like, I want to be an astronaut, or I want to be a Pokemon master, or I want to be a chef right next to Gordon Ramsay cutting up food. Like, what is it that you actually want? And then when kids say that, well, then you start talking about like, okay, if you want to be an astronaut, that's great. So make sure you're getting good grades and start working towards that. And so you don't go into like the nitty gritty details of, okay, you got to do something every single day to be able to work up towards your goal. But it's just, you give them the possibility. You take what this little bubble that they have, and then you expand it into what is actually out there that they can get. And then you help them to believe in themselves, that they can get it. Because I trust that I'll show up for that day, for those few hours, to be able to talk to these kids. But then I got to leave it to the teachers. I got to leave it to the school system and everybody else. So whenever I'm there, I also got to make sure that I'm motivating the teacher as well, so that the rest of the school year, she or he is like also teaching them the possibility and for them to start believing in themselves. And man, if you believe in yourself and you like know somewhat of what you want, you're already in a good direction. Then you can go into like reverse engineering the goal, taking step by step, all the nitty gritty framework stuff that you can do. But once you believe in yourself and know what's out there, man, you can do anything.
I totally agree with you. You was talking about earlier how, Mama Blake was taking you as you go through school, you had to meet the teachers earlier and everything of that nature. And then as you go and you move through college, at some point, when was that moment when books and business stopped becoming like information and started becoming a way back to yourself? What did the learning do to unlock, you in school that in some cases, like you said, kind of shut you down?
Yeah. Oh man. Jump back with me 2018. Okay. 2018. I was about halfway through college, been in there for 2 years, and I was changing from accounting to business because I got the math stuff, but I didn't want to sit behind a desk all day. So I was starting to learn like what business was and potentially changing the degree. But I came across the statistic. It wasn't motivational or anything, but it said 95% of CEOs read 50 or more books a year. And I thought, okay, being a CEO would be kind of cool. Being a business owner, that sounds pretty awesome. Ain't no way I'm reading 50 books. For a dyslexic who maybe read an average of like 1 book before that, ain't no way. But if that is what people do to be a CEO, then I guess I'll just start there. So I got a little card and I wrote 1 through 12 on it because a book a month seemed a lot easier than 50 books. And I went to my bookshelf, grabbed the smallest purple book I could, a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I started to read it. It's a good book. It's a good book. And I started reading chapter 1. And then that one book turned into a few books, which then turned into a dozen and then a couple dozen. And now I consistently read 50 or 60 books a year now. But that all came from, like, that was all in like this over a year span that I did this. And I could look back and I could see this whole transformation happening. This moment of I'm learning about some really cool stuff and I'm learning how to actually take what lessons these really great people, Gary Vee, Tony Robbins, Alex Hormozi, not at the time, but nowadays Alex Hormozi, and just like Zig Ziglar, Bob Proctor as speakers, like these huge high names. I started to take their lessons. And then I didn't just keep it in my head because I wish I would have learned this earlier. I really did. Sadly, it took me like 2 or 3 years to learn it. But if I read a book, but keep the knowledge in my head, that's about as good as someone who didn't read in the first place. You got to apply what you know. So that 2 or 3 years in, then I started to apply these lessons into my life. And that got me excited because now when I'm at college going through these courses, I'm looking around the room being like, okay, who are the kids that I think are going to go far? Which ones are the ones that I want to connect with? These professors, they're good in something because they're the professors of the school. I want to be able to connect with them. And I'm thinking of just like these groups I go in, which one are the best ones rather than the cool kids that I'd like to be with before. It's like, which ones do we get not just good grades, but like actually make some really good stuff. And just like over and over again, I started finding new people. I started sharing my excitement for like, I think it'd be really cool to start a business. And everyone else is just like, yeah, that would be really cool. I even started like a little mastermind group at college. And do you know how many people showed up for my first event?
0? I was going to say
Zero.
2. Probably you
Zero.
and someone else. 0.
Yeah. For my first mastermind event, 0 people showed up. I reserved a room at the library and I held it. I put out like on Eventbrite and Facebook. I'm like, hey, come to my what I call it, my meeting of success. That's what I call it, my meeting of success. Yeah, great name, right? Meeting of success. 0 people came, but I still hit record on my camera and taught what I was going to teach. The next time, wanna know how many people showed up? 0 again.
For real? And
it was about 5 or 6 times where I did this to when finally somebody showed up. And it was the person who helped me come up with the idea in the first place. But then he invited a friend, and then that friend was coming consistently. And then some more people got a hold of it and started to come. Now, it wasn't like a huge group. I think max there was about 6 or 7 people in the room at a time. But like I built this little thing from a big fat 0 to several people who on a college campus where we wouldn't have met otherwise, each of us had a dream and a goal that we're working towards, whatever that business was. And so that evolution just came from reading. And so now I love reading because I'm taking decades of experience from someone else so that I can learn it and do it within 10 days. And that's awesome. And that's what I also want to give to people. Like what I had to go through, the decades I went through, I want to break it down so other people can learn it in 10 days or even 10 minutes and be able to change their life.
You know, in that
books had big power.
Say that one more time. Sorry.
Which part? The last one?
You just said.
Shoot, what did I say?
Last part, it caught me because I was like, oh, I was going to, and then I had a question in my head.
Yeah, so I want to break it down so that what I've learned in decades, in 10 years, someone else can learn in 10 days or even 10 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. That's what it was. And it's like, So that was like your, I would say like your training arc, right? You're going through a season in which, you're like, hey, I want to share. What were you trying to prove to yourself in that season where you was going to school, you wanted to be successful, you was reading all these books, and you was trying to get somewhere. You wasn't running from something, you was running towards, you was trying, to me, it felt like you was trying to prove something.
Yeah, it's hard to even go into. Not like to share, because I'm more than happy to share and I'm very open to people. But it's at that specific time,
Yeah.
I wasn't running away from something. At that time, things were very comfortable. I was going through college. Um, I had savings so that I was fine and didn't have to worry about that. I just wanted to help people so much. I just wanted to help people. And since then, there's been moments of fear coming in where I want to prove myself that I can do this. When I got married, I still wanted to impress my in-laws, and I'm just like, I got to make sure I do the dishes, clean up the house, make sure that's all good so that they're impressed and that they see me as somebody worthy of their daughter and their future grandkids at the time. And so like those moments come, but at that time, that fear was just not there. And it was purely, I just want to help people so freaking deeply. I just want to help people.
I like that. You talked about it like you said you made a deliberate choice to, you work with mostly adults when it comes to dyslexia, being dyslexic, and not just kids. Why do you feel called to that lane right now?
I feel called to that lane right now because adults need help. That's how it is. Adults need help. And yes, all of us need help for sure. But kids, they get resources while they're in school to help with
That's true.
dyslexia, ADHD, and stuff. Teenagers, they get that in middle school and high school. They're covered. Once you hit 18, if you go to college, there might be something there, but really it's just like you got to deal with it by yourself. And when you get to the real world, let's be honest, corporations might say they have it, but they don't implement it as well as they do. Or the cases are you just don't share it because you're either still ashamed of it or you just don't see the need to share it. And so you just don't have a resource. Like no one's out there to help adult dyslexics to either I don't like to be a support group type thing because I think that's more of like other awesome professionals that I know. That's kind of their lane they go down. My side's on I want to help you to be able to go after something. Like I'll sit with you in the weeds and we can talk about it. But at the end, I'm not going to leave you there. I actually want you to do something. Like I want you to make your life better. I don't want a pity party. We said pity at the beginning. I don't want to pity us to sit at a pity party and just talk and gossip. And that's all we do. I want to see a transformation. I want to see the light in people's eyes, that fire, that passion within them. I want to see them have that smile on their face that they had as a kid, but couldn't have as they go throughout as the kid, teenage years, and into adulthood, because now they got responsibilities, they got anxiety and stress. They're worried about the problems that they have. They now got to pay taxes. They got to have insurance. They got to do adult things, and they've lost that smile. And I want to help put that smile back.
I like that. As a man that's in the trenches, that's working with adults every day, what pain, if you can give it, I guess, a word, associate a word to it, do you think adults are carrying that this world is still minimizing?
Pain that they're feeling that this world is still minimizing.
Yeah. What pain? Like, because you're in the trenches, you're working with a lot of adults when it comes to being dyslexic, right? And they
Yeah.
probably tell you about a lot of things they experience. If you had to put a word to that pain that they felt, like you expressed that gentleman who whispered, and he said that to you instead of just like you said, being exuberant, say, "Hey, I struggle with this as well." What type, you know, for me, like it's like what is that we have to go and we just can't speak, fervently about what happens or this situation.
Yeah. If there's one word for it, it would be darkness. We live in this thing called darkness. Now, there are other synonyms for it. It's the problems and challenges and obstacles. It's the guilt, the shame of everything that we have to do. But it's we are sitting there alone by ourselves in this darkness, and we don't see the possibility of light ahead or light ahead. And because of that, we stay to where we are, and we can't speak up. But I want to preach the other side of it, of which the best way to get the devil off your back is to not have a white calendar. And the best way to get the devil off your back is to start sharing about it, because it's the secrets that we hold that hurt us the most. We try to hold it inside. We think that we have to take care of it, that we have to be the independent one. We are more than happy to go out and serve other people because we are built to serve humans. But if it comes to people asking us, what do you need? Oh, no, I'm good. I got this. Thank you so much for offering, but I can do this by myself. It's like, no, we can't do that. There's a reason why people read scriptures in the light and watch pornography in the dark. It's the shame. It's that darkness of those deep secrets that we hold this persona about ourselves, that other people have to think this way. But the reality of it is this: I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I am who I think that you think I am. Now, if you are like me and didn't understand that the first time, let me quickly break that down for you. Basically, it's we act in the way in which we think other people think about us, which is why when we go to work, we act a certain way. When with our friends, we act another. When we're with our parents, we do something different. When I'm on stage, before, I would just be that professional guy. But when I'm hanging out with the boys, man, we laugh, play, and have fun. And we put up those different masks or put on those different hats because we can't share everything that's a part of us. And that comes back to that word of darkness. All of that under that umbrella of we live in the darkness. But we need to start talking about it so we can bring it to the light.
What breaks your heart most in the people you coach? Like when you're coaching someone and someone says this or that, or that thing.
The biggest thing is you're getting me on this one because I just had a recent person talk to me about this. It's when they can see it, but then something in their head just like freaking bashes against it. That little back voice saying, you can't do this, you can't do that. And so they don't even start. And I hate it. I freaking hate it. And I don't hate them because it's not them. I hate the thought because we are not our thoughts. Our thoughts are just there. Our brain, we are not our brain. Our brain is a tool that we use. That's why we're able to reprogram our brain. That's why we build these things called habits. The good habits are the good things in which we do over and over again that create those little divots that our brain's like, cool, that's comfortable. The bad habits, same thing, but it's the bad side where we do the bad things and it creates that little trench, you can say, that it's hard to get over that. But the brain's just like, I want to stay comfortable no matter what. Caveman brain, I want to stay as comfortable as I can. I don't want to do anything more. And so for when people come to me, and they see the possibility and they see this little ray of light of starting to believe in themselves. But then that little thought in the back of their head says, no, you can't do this. It gets me so just going. And I'm like, I have to say it to them because it's their thing, but it's not to them. It's to their mind. It's to that thought of stop it. You believe what you believe because of the habits and experiences that you have felt over the decades that you lived. And so now, and this is what I tell people, is that when we start to build better habits and start to work toward that direction of whatever the goal is, it's going to be hard at the beginning because you are trying to break a habit that has been happening for decades. I don't know about you, it's hard to break a habit that I've had for like a year or two, let alone decades. And so it's going to take time. It's going to take time before it's going to happen. But believe in the possibility and believe in yourself that it can happen. And that also goes along with like, the best thing is to minimize between thought and action, like to fill up that gap. When you have the thought, take action as quick as you can, because that's going to help you to then build up more confidence and to actually start trusting yourself again is through the action part. And, we can go into that later if you'd like to, but it comes back to that belief of you're okay. What you've gone through is what you've gone through. Let me show you this possibility. And now that it's there, I want you to choose that God-given gift that you've been given, the power to choose, and just choose to redirect that focus, redirect that time and energy in this other direction, just a little bit more. And over time, you're going to create the life that you want.
How can when you're coaching people, how can I guess you tell or they tell that they're just like somebody who is just in love with the idea of being a better person or being successful versus wanting to do the work to be successful. And once you or I guess you see that in them, how do you approach it as a coach? Do you just keep coaching them or you like, hey, I don't want my time wasted. You guys are not moving forward in this regard. I have to fall back.
Yeah. It's the same way. I go about it the same way
Mhm.
because then it comes back to the action part, right? Of, okay, we're going to start doing this. After a little bit, that's when we're going to now recheck. Are you doing it? No? Okay. If it happens a couple times, it's like, here's some, like, it sounds like you don't actually want it. But the route to get there is funny enough. You pick what your goal is, whatever it is you want, that kid energy. I want to be an astronaut. Cool. Let's start there. So you figure that out. We go over a game plan, which it's the verbiage I use for it. But basically you take that and reverse engineer the goal backwards. And then I ask him this question. And this is where that part comes up of, are they the ones that hesitate or are they ones that actually do it? They just have been unclear. And it's, what is the next thing that you have to do? Just what one single thing. What is the next thing you have to do? Is it updating your LinkedIn? Is it going out and taking a 5-minute walk? Like, what's the next thing you got to do? And when they know what that is, I say, Kay, when are you scheduling it? And that's where it happens. Because the people who have already been doing stuff and just need a little more clarity, they're like, this is really cool. I need to take a 5-minute walk each day. Okay, I'm going to put in my calendar for right after dinner, going to walk with my husband, and we're going to go walk around for 5 minutes. It's like, sweet. But then there's the other people who are just like, crap, now we're not wishing anymore.
Yep.
We're not just talking about dreaming. We're actually putting the tires to pavement to start driving. But it's still the same thing of, when are you going to schedule it? And they're just like, well, I could do it here. I could do it there. Awesome. Pick one day. What one day can you do? Wednesday? Awesome. You can do it morning or evening? Oh, I guess I could do it right after my calls in the morning. Sweet. So put a specific time to it. 11 o'clock. Awesome. Now you have it for Wednesday morning, 11 o'clock, right after your calls, that you got it. You have a 60-minute time frame that you're going to do it. Now your job is to do it at 11 o'clock. You don't have to worry about it at all until 11 o'clock hits. And then it comes down to, do they actually do it? Or do they need to take it a little bit smaller to make it more like biteable? That's usually where it comes, where they're just like, I got to do it. So I'm in the middle of 75 hard, which is like the workout program of 2 workouts a day, hydration, all that stuff. If someone were to just jump into that, they're just like, I got to do 75 hard each day. I'm like, cool. I want to see you do it. But then they don't do it. I'm like, cool. Let's save that for like a future New Year's resolution or goal that you can work towards. Let's just get you going to the gym consistently. Forget about like how you work out or like the different ways you need to do it. Let's just get you to the gym. Get you to the gym for a couple of months just to build that habit. Then we can talk strategy. So we break it down to like, what is it you just need to do? And then just consistently do that every single day.
Pretty awesome. So my last question for you is this. What is something you wish more people understood about you and your work that almost nobody ever asks or you get to perform with them?
I love to have fun. Just truly, man, I love to have fun so much. No joke. Literally, I have a client who our sessions, because of the way he works and the time he has to go to bed, and he just loves playing video games, the time in which we get on calls to talk is literally us two playing video games on the computer. That's it. Like, I am not about this whole, like, let's jump on a Zoom call and let's go through this 60-minute session. If that's you, let's do it. But like, if you need to like to do the coaching session while we're sitting there, like playing Skyrim or doing Minecraft stuff or whatever, then let's do that. When it comes to what I do, my community and coaching, it all comes down to what is it that works for you? Learning and execution in how you see yourself and your identity. What is it that works for you? And as a dyslexic, some people are great with textbooks for learning. Awesome. Let's go that route. A lot of people aren't. So they go to watching videos, or they go to listening it on audio, or they jump to hands-on experience. My whole coaching goes to let's figure out which one you are best in, which one that is easiest for you to learn. Because if you're doing something that's a strength for you, then the results are going to multiply. Rather than if we do the thing that everyone else does, which like we might add like a little here, a little there. I'm like, no, we got limited time on this earth. We're going to multiply as much as we can, and we do what works for them. And so that's the approach I do. And I like to have fun. A lot of time, I just love to have fun cracking jokes with it. I'm very comfortable with like the different ways that it needs to happen, but it all just comes down to believe in yourself. What is it that you want to do? Once you know what you want and you have that direction, what are some things that you got that are in that plan? What are some milestones you got to hit? Once you do that, well, then you take that metaphorical car out of park to start driving. You start doing daily consistent things. And then just like in a car, you don't just drive straight from your home if you're going to like Walmart. You got to take the steering wheel and you got to make some turns. So you'll learn to adjust and adapt along the way. And so like all those things are just come into, that's like the principle base of how it follows. But the way in which we do it is just specific to each person that comes.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome.
I think so.
Yeah. Willie, let us know, let my listeners know, my viewers, what you got going on. How can we support you in your crusade to, talk to people, coach people, and grow people?
Yes. Best place for you listeners to be able to, one, connect with me. Go to my website, coachwillieblake.com, and you'll be able to connect with me there. But even more importantly, like be comfortable with who you are and start sharing it. If it has to be a close friend, or it has to be a parent, or if it has to be like a stranger who's driving the Uber, who you're just like, I'm never going to see this person again, so I can share something that I don't do, then let it be that. But just like, it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to be yourself and let yourself be yourself. And one thing that I have that you listeners, that I would encourage everybody who's listening to do, is on my website, just right at the top, there's a link to an ebook, very short. I don't like those long ebooks. I'm dyslexic. Very short ebook called Break Free. And it's the 12 chains that limit us, that hold us down like shackles, and the ways in which to break them. And I'm going to ask for your email because that's just the best way to send things to people. So name and email, put in there, and it'll send directly to you that book to be able to look at those chains to see which ones affect you and which ones are holding you down, and then just the way to break them. So that's a gift that I give to everybody who's listening to this, and you can find it on my website.
That's pretty awesome. Willie, thank you so much. I appreciate your honesty, your practicality, the way you bring dignity to, basically dyslexia, and carrying this publicly and not privately. Grateful for your time and grateful for your work you're doing. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Peace, guys.